Got a loaded show of Warriors rumors to discuss on today's edition of Warriors Today by Chat Sports. As could a Kuminga trade still be possible? And to the Chicago Bulls, after they just made a move a couple days ago. Also, could the Warriors reunite with a former Warrior that you might have saw on the thumbnail of today's video? And then the back half of today's show, we will talk about a couple of workouts that Golden State is hosting prior to training camp, which is just a couple of weeks away. But let's hop right into this. Kuminga to the Bulls, because I don't want you guys to click off the video. I think there's a legitimate chance that this is a possibility. Not saying it's going to happen, but there's actually a possibility now that, the Josh Giddey news has been taken care of. They have him set up on a 4-year, $100 million contract, and they are going to be set up with some pretty decent free agency cap space over the next season or so. So could they go out there and absorb a high-ceiling player like Kuminga? Well, we'll dive into that in just a moment. But I want to ask you guys first, take a stance for me. Should Golden State still try to trade Jonathan Kuminga even though they have cut off all sign-and-trade talks? Let me know in the comment section. T for trade, K for keep. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Because if you guys remember, Jonathan Kuminga's representation earlier this summer was trying to orchestrate a deal that would get Josh Giddey and Kuminga both paid in Chicago and have them on that roster for the foreseeable future. Obviously, we knew that the Bulls and the Heat, when free agency started, were the two teams that were kind of having rumored interest, but neither actually made an actual trade offer when those were going around. That would be the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings, who ended up doing that. So no formal offer came about from Chicago, but now that they have Giddey locked up, could a deal be back in the works? Peter O'Keefe of BlueManHoop, the Warriors fan-sided network, said this: with Giddey now locked into a 4-year deal, Chicago could revisit a Kuminga trade, what a Kuminga trade would look like. Alternatively, they may wish to retain what projects as over $80 million in expiring contracts, which set them up to be big free agency players next offseason. Now, you say big players next offseason, but who are you going to go sign? To be really blunt with you guys, LeBron James and Kevin Durant are not signing with the Chicago Bulls in 2026. There is, I will say, zero chance of that. There's a way, I'm telling you right now, there is a way, way, way higher chance that Kuminga gets traded to the Bulls before the season starts than LeBron or Durant signing with Chicago next offseason. Zero chance of that. I just wanted to include them because those are the two marquee names. But then it takes a pretty big gap of a drop-off. You got James Harden, who's got a player option. He ain't going to Chicago. So they're really going to re-sign Zach LaVine back after just trading him in February? Doubt it. And then you get to the next tier of guys. Isaiah Hartenstein and Austin Reeves are your marquee unrestricted free agents that have a little bit of gas left in the tank here. I mean, Durant and LeBron, you're trading for, or you're signing a 40-year-old. They'll probably go back to their respective franchises. I believe Durant already locked into to a contract extension, so I shouldn't even have him there. Zach LaVine, they're not going to want him back. And then Isaiah Hartenstein makes $30 million. I'm sure he'll get somewhere in the realm of 15 to 20 next offseason because a couple other teams will have cap space as well, and it won't just be strictly taxpayer or mid-level exception deals or big chunk extensions. And then Austin Reeves, I'm so curious to see what he would get. I'm sure the Bulls would absolutely be interested in signing him, but you would still have room to sign Kuminga at that point, which also brings up the point, they could just wait to sign Kuminga next offseason. He's going to accept the qualifying offer, and it's going to be a situation where he's an unrestricted free agent. So they could just wait it out because as they have a bunch of expiring money, but they could get that train started right now. They could get that chemistry working and kind of get Kuminga in the building sooner rather than later, so they're a little bit better off down the line. I don't think that there is a realistic target for the Chicago Bulls next offseason than Jonathan Kuminga. And so if you're not really going to re-sign any of the guys that are expiring this year, why don't you just make the deal for Kuminga now? Why don't you get the ball rolling already in Kuminga's age 22 to 23 season? And you'll probably be much better off in a few years when that Giddey contract and Kuminga contract, presumably what Chicago would give him, will be later on in the later stages. So there's no real realistic target for Chicago in free agency next offseason that has a higher ceiling than the 22-year-old Jonathan Kuminga. And even I'll admit that. There is untapped potential with Kuminga and a perfect landing spot for him to go do what he wants to do, kind of unbothered, would be Chicago. You don't have to worry about Josh Giddey going out there and stealing, jump shot creation from you. He can't do that. He'll help the team in other ways. Now, Kuminga, he'll have free reign. So he'll be the whole offensive engine there on the wing, and that would be a perfect landing spot for him. As far as what Golden State would be interested in, though, from Chicago, it is fairly slim pickings. They're not going to trade for Nikola Vucevic, one, because they don't want him, and two, because obviously with a Kuminga sign and trade, we've talked about it months ago, but really haven't visited it since they shut down the talks, you would have to send away, or only take back, half of what Kuminga's new contract in the first season would be with Chicago. So Clearly, Golden State would have to make somebody else included in the trade if they wanted to bring in Vooch, and they didn't even want to include somebody in the trade to bring Malik Monk into town. So that's probably off the table. Kobe White, he is this came out that he's asking for $100 million next offseason, so I doubt Golden State would want to get in that business. But if Chicago wanted to pay Kuminga $25 million next season, then Kobe White would fit underneath that umbrella. Ayo Dosunmu, though. That's the name where we can start talking a little bit. He does have to get paid next offseason, but I think he's a starting level player, could be a starter on a championship roster, plays both ends of the floor magnificently, can score the basketball both at the rim and beyond the three-point line with some volume to it as well. So I would be looking at Ayo Dosunmu here if that is a possibility for the Chicago Bulls and Golden State to kind of get a deal done. But again, very, very unlikely. What I'm really looking for out of this whole scenario, if the Bulls were to express any interest, as we have a couple more weeks until the qualifying offer deadline, any Chicago Bulls interest that is reported or rumored could potentially raise up the other offers that are already out there from a Phoenix, from a Sacramento. So there's definitely a silver lining here. Hopefully, over the next couple of days, we hear a rumor about the Bulls having some level of interest in Jonathan Kuminga, and maybe we could get out of this long nightmare of Kuminga threatening to accept the qualifying offer and just get him off the roster and bring some new blood in. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as we are fast approaching our next milestone of 98,000 subs. Only 218 members of Dub Nation away. So go down below, hit that subscribe button for free, informative, entertaining Golden State Warriors content every single day on YouTube. Alrighty, we're going to talk about a crazy, crazy reunion that could be in the works. Back to the Bay. The 76ers are heavily shopping Kelly Oubre Jr., and the Warriors can absolutely find a way to get him. With the 76ers at this point, they are trying to re-sign Quentin Grimes, but they are hard capped at the first apron, and they won't be able to sign Quentin Grimes unless they get rid of one of Andre Drummond or Kelly Oubre. And I think Oubre would probably be the name that's easier to move at this point. How does Golden State go out there and acquire Oubre? Easy. They have a trade exception. Kelly Oubre only makes $8.4 million this upcoming year. And that's an absolute steal given the production that he's had over the last 4 seasons or so. Warriors have a trade exception. Shout out Kyle Anderson. Shout out Slow-Mo, the gift that keeps on giving in that Jimmy Butler trade. The Warriors created an $8.8 million TPE on the deal. Now, the one thing about a trade exception is that you cannot attach a player to it, but it doesn't matter because the Warriors already fit Kelly Oubre's salary in their exception of $8.8 million. You have to attach some draft picks to get that deal done. But I presume, since the Sixers only want to fully salary dump Kelly Oubre here, that all it's going to take is a pair of second-round picks to go out there and make a deal happen. And with Jonathan Kuminga accepting the qualifying offer, given that that's the case, it's the anticipated outcome. Everybody's talking about it, and that's what we're in line to have be the case at this point. Kuminga's going to accept the qualifying offer. Warriors will have a little bit more space, though, as $14 million that they would be spending would be kind of null and void. So they would be out there and to go pay Kelly Oubre that $8 million that he'll have on the books this season. And look, he's well worth it, man. 15-point-per-game scorer. He was getting a ton of burn on a bad Philadelphia team last year. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They were really, really rough with all the injuries they had, and just this Paul George not really being a good basketball player last season. Kelly Oubre was kind of a constant for them last year. Played 60 games, 68 the year before. A little bit of an injury in Charlotte there in 2022-23, but that was a season where he averaged over 20 points a game. And, he's never going to be the most efficient outside shooter, but as an off-ball guy who can play defense, he can rebound, he's long, athletic, like 6'8", like this is a guy you should be interested in, to be in all honesty. I'm shocked that more teams haven't called on Kelly Oubre. And when he was with the Warriors way back when, he was solid. Like, I know a lot of Warriors fans didn't love it, and it was kind of the season from hell way back when, but you can't deny the guy was putting up numbers, man, and he's a solid rebounder, solid defender. I think it makes sense for Golden State because when you look at this roster, especially when you consider Jonathan Kuminga might not be commanding a huge role now that he's only making $8 million and he's a sitting duck until unrestricted free agency, the Warriors could use another big wing like an Oubre to, who knows, maybe be a better complement to the Golden State Warriors superstars as opposed to Kuminga, who wants to go into business for himself. So absolutely a possibility out there. Golden State wouldn't have to give up too much, and they bring back a familiar face that I'm sure is pretty well liked in the locker room. Should the Warriors trade for Kelly Oubre Jr.? Why for yes and for no? Be the GM. Put your Mike Dunleavy hat on for me for a second, and let me know if Golden State should bring back Kelly Oubre Jr. to the Bay Area. Next, the Warriors hosted a couple workouts before training camp, maybe a couple Exhibit 10 contracts up for grabs here as we inch closer and closer to training camp. We'll tell you who in just a moment, but first, get hooked up with this awesome deal. Warriors Nike heavyweight long sleeve tee on sale. 35 bones. that is a deal you can't pass up. Chatsports.com/dubcity. I love this colorway, man. The navy, the yellow, the red. They're going to release a new city edition soon, so you better get this while it's still available in all the sizes. Chatsports.com/dubcity. That link's in the comment section and description of today's video. Alrighty, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, the Villanova product, the former All-Big East, All-American talent. He's working on with the Warriors. Look, he hasn't been able to find a home for a super long period of time. Started his career with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's never really been a threat much, honestly. He's not a really good defender, and he's kind of in that tweener range. Like, can't really play center, and he's not really mobile enough or a good enough of a ball handler or creator for himself to be a power forward in this league. Kind of a low block guy. It just doesn't really fit in today's league anymore. If he can be a good three-point shooter, then maybe the Warriors take a swing on him in training camp, but he did work out for Golden State, and we'll see if anything comes of it. Dalano Banton is a name that I am pretty familiar with my coverage here at Chat Sports. He is a big guard. He can handle the rock, and at 6'9", like, you'd be surprised how well this guy can move, man. He can defend multiple positions as well, but what's underrated to me is his facilitation game. He's a really good court vision player, and I don't think he got enough of a burn with the Portland Trailblazers last year. I'm surprised, honestly, that they didn't bring him back, as I think he's a pretty versatile guy, long as well, 6'9", and got a plus wingspan on him. So I would be absolutely open to bringing in Dalano Banton. I think he could provide more for you than a guy like Seth Curry or even a GP2, to be honest. So I think that would be something in the better interest of Golden State here. But as far as locker room vibes go, maybe a GP2 or a Seth Curry would work out a little bit better. We'll see if either of these guys make it to Golden State training camp, which starts in a few weeks. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. That will do it for today's edition of Warriors Today by Chat Sports. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, let's go Dubs.